I came back to life and actively cut all ties with Cameron Liu. He applied to the Southern National Defense University, so I changed my application to the Northern People's Police University. The key was to never see each other again. When he returned home for the new year, I immediately went on a road trip. I didn't answer his calls or reply to his messages. The moment he moved to the city where I worked, I submitted a transfer request right away. I didn't want to see him, not even for a second. In my past life, I loved him for 30 years and was ignored for just as long. In my 40s, I was diagnosed with cancer. At the end of my life, Cameron was busy decorating his new home to marry Sara. The two children I had raised with all my love and effort were too busy with their weddings to care. I lay alone on a hospital bed, waiting to die. I refused to live such a pathetic life ever again. Chapter 01. After resubmitting my university preferences, I felt completely at ease. Finally, I no longer had to be entangled with Cameron. No one knows I've been reborn. The deadline for the first round of college applications is tomorrow at noon, and I was worried the internet might crash then, so I went out late at night to make the changes. In my past life, I chased Cameron endlessly, and I blamed him endlessly. In the end, all that was left was resentment. In this life, I want no connection with him at all. I want us to be strangers, no matter the distance. On July 13th, my 18th birthday, I'll stand before everyone and say, I will not get engaged to you. You are free. There are 15 days left. Just as I stepped out of the internet cafe, I received a message from Cameron. I'm out with friends and might be home late. Cover for me. Thanks. I replied with a simple, Cameron and I had been childhood friends. His father served alongside mine in the military, and his mother was my mom's best friend and colleague. I even lived at his house for 3 years, calling his mother Mom Lou. She treated me better than her own son. I fell in love with him, while he liked Sara. I originally planned to keep those feelings buried forever and be his sister for life. But on the day of our college entrance exam results, Cameron took me to a bar. I was drunk in the bathroom when 2 men tried to assault me. If Cameron hadn't come looking for me after noticing I was gone, I really don't know what would have happened. I saw that assault as a terrible humiliation. I almost took my own life. Mom Lou blamed Cameron for not protecting me and forced him to promise that he'd get engaged to me. Out of guilt, Cameron agreed. He said we'd throw the engagement party as soon as he got his acceptance letter. Sara couldn't accept it and made a huge scene. Cameron kept making excuses to console her. In my past life, Cameron truly loved Sara. For her, he was willing to give up everything: his principles, his future, his conscience. The more I clung to him, the more I lost. And the more I lost, the more unwilling I was to let go. I used every means possible to fight them, to make them suffer like I did. In the end, Mom Luho had once treated me like a daughter, cut me off completely. Even the 2 children I raised turned their backs on me. I heard it with my own ears when they said, Mom, living like this is just exhausting. It'd be better if you died soon. That way, you'd be helping Dad and Aunt Sara. It's been 30 years Stevie had to endure so much. In this life, I won't be the villain who ruins their marriage. I don't want anything to do with those 2 traitors anymore. I gave them happiness, and in return, I found freedom. Changing my early admission preferences is the first step toward walking away from Cameron. It's also the first step in living for myself. Chapter 02. In my past life, to be with Cameron, I gave up my dream university, the People's Police University, and followed him to the National Defense University he longed for. The fully militarized training was far harsher than police training. The schedules and drills were more intense, leaving me physically and mentally drained. It was unbearable. What hurt most was seeing Cameron and Sara exchange affectionate glances right in front of me. I was consumed with jealousy, but I didn't dare speak up because I was the third wheel. Then one day, Sara was suddenly expelled. Cameron assumed it was my doing and never looked at me the same again. After graduation, Cameron refused to marry me. I only received the wedding invitation from Sara later. She had married a rich fool in haste to cut ties with Cameron. Devastated, Cameron walked through our wedding like a zombie. After we were married, he kept avoiding me. Years passed and he never returned home. I visited him at the base, but he'd rather stand guard for his comrades than come back to the dorm with me. Every day, Mom Lou would call to ask if I was pregnant. She even mailed me a set of sexy lingerie. To please Cameron and help Mom Lou become a grandmother, I wore that and went to his guardroom bed. But Cameron pointed at me and called me despicable. I couldn't take it anymore. I ran home that night, saying I'd do anything to get a divorce. Then Cameron came back to apologize. With sweet, tender words, he filled the void of our 3-year marriage in just one night. And that one night left me pregnant with twins. I thought having kids would finally make him a responsible husband and father. But I later realized that the children only trapped me, not him. The only one who could hold on to Cameron was Sara. Even knowing I was near death after one of Sara's provocations nearly took all 3 of our lives, he still defended her without hesitation. To earn my forgiveness, he knelt in front of me and stabbed himself twice to atone for Sara's mistakes. At the time, I was still hospitalized and the twins were in the NICU. He didn't even ask about them, let alone go see them. When I got home, I received a video from Sara. In it, she and Cameron were locked in a passionate dance. Returning from night class, Mom Lou saw me staring blankly and peeked at the screen. After watching it, she exploded with rage. That bastard. He ditched his fiancée to dance with some tramp? I'm going to skin him alive. And Sara, that shameless witch. Cameron's getting married, and she's still clinging to him like that? Tomorrow, I'll go talk to her parents. Sara's father was the school guard, and her mother a janitor. As the principal, Mom Lou had never given them any trouble until she discovered Cameron and Sara were secretly seeing each other. Mom Lou valued social equality and didn't approve of Sara's family background. She had always hoped Cameron would marry me instead. After all, my father was a lieutenant colonel, one uncle a provincial high school principal, and the other a bureau director. My connections could have guaranteed Cameron a brighter future. To separate the two, Mom Lou did everything she could to criticize Sara's parents whenever she saw them. She hoped Sara would come to her senses and stay away from Cameron. But Sara and her family clung to him and refused to let go. In my past life, even as a mother-in-law and daughter-in-law joined forces, we still couldn't keep Sara away. After I had no more strength to fight, and Mom Lou grew too old and weak, Sara finally married Cameron. And she even won over my 2 beloved sons. In this life, I won't stop them anymore. But I won't interfere with Mom Lou either. If Sara wants to marry into the Lou family, she'll have to pass Mom Lou's test. Chapter 03. The only punishment Mom Lou used on Cameron was a feather duster. One swing left a deep, bloody mark. I thought Cameron would blame me for exposing him and ignore me, but unexpectedly, he came to apologize. I'm sorry. I made you misunderstand. I only danced with Sara. Nothing more. Don't worry, I know my place and I won't cross any lines. He sounded so sincere. If I hadn't been so observant, I might have believed him. But there was a lipstick mark on his neck. He's always been a liar. As a kid, he'd trick me with every little thing. He could make me cry, make me laugh, make me throw tantrums, but I never saw him as a bad brother because he spoiled me so much. After we had kids, he lied and said he'd cut ties with Sara. I brought our sons to the base to celebrate their birthday, only to find Sara in his dorm room with her daughter and women's products scattered everywhere. Later, when I was seriously ill and asked him to visit me in the hospital, he said he was injured and couldn't move. In truth, he was busy planning his wedding with Sara. In my past life, he lied to me my entire life. In this one, I won't believe a single word. As long as I don't believe, he can't deceive me. I gently moved my hand and said, "There's no need to explain. I have no right to interfere with your freedom. Sara sent me a video while your mother was right beside me. I didn't report it, it was just bad luck for her. People who flaunt their love always suffer in the end. If she hadn't provoked me on purpose, trying to assert her dominance, she wouldn't have been humiliated by Mom Lou." Cameron forced a bitter smile. "How can you say you don't have the power to interfere? Once I get my acceptance letter, we'll be engaged. Once we're engaged, I'll be yours. I'll obey you, serve you, give you everything I have until I die. But that's not going to happen. I won't be getting any acceptance letter from the National Defense University, and I definitely won't get engaged to you. You don't need to pretend or lie for my sake. Just 14 more days. Hang in there a little longer." Cameron asked, 14 days? Oh, doesn't even remember my birthday. I pushed him out of my room. The day you regain your freedom, I'll help you get there. After submitting my application, I had to prepare for the military inspection. Under Mom Lou's close watch, Cameron hadn't been able to sneak out to meet Sara again. But even so, he was emotionally distant. He spent his days glued to his phone talking, video chatting, messaging. When Mom Lou caught him once, she gave him a beating and even handed me the feather duster to join in and vent my anger. I didn't bother wasting my energy. Let it go, I said. Cameron thought I didn't want to hit him and felt touched. Don't worry, we only talked about normal things between friends, nothing more. I know I'm engaged and won't cross any lines. But what does an engagement matter? A marriage certificate can't stop him from secretly seeing Sara. I replied vaguely. With all the running, jumping, sit-ups and daily drills, I was already exhausted. I still had to complete psychological test prep exercises. I really had no time or energy to care who he flirted with. Cameron was anxious that Sara might fail her interview and even asked me if there was anything I could do to help. If I wanted to, of course there were ways. But why would I lift a finger for someone I didn't even like, especially if it meant troubling my own people?
No.
Haven't you always advocated for fairness and justice? Are you going to make an exception just for Sara? Cameron didn't like my answer, but he didn't say anything. From then on, he stopped speaking to me. But I was already used to his coldness and silence, so it didn't affect me much. Mom Lou thought we were just under a lot of pressure and didn't feel like talking, so she didn't take it seriously. She simply busied herself cooking delicious meals for us every day. On the day of the military inspection, Cameron came home early with a single rose in his hand. Mom Lou smiled and said, "This boy finally understands she knows he should bring you flowers." I didn't tell her that Sara was the one who liked roses. That flower wasn't meant for me. Chapter 04. The moment Sara saw me, she slapped me across the face. "You're so evil. You stole Cameron and you're still not satisfied? You even made Madame Lou fire my parents." Sara's parents got fired? Looks like Mom Lou is truly furious this time. But what does that have to do with me? So Sara doesn't dare confront her future mother-in-law and comes after me instead? She must think I'm a weak little kitten. But if the tiger doesn't show its claws, does she really think I'm harmless? I raised my hand to slap her back, but Cameron stopped me. Her parents lost their jobs. Life's hard at home. Don't be mad at her. If you're really angry, hit me instead. You can hit me as many times as you want. I laughed bitterly. Just because her life is tough, she gets to slap me? Am I her punching bag? I asked Cameron, "Who are you to her? You're going to apologize and take a beating on her behalf." That's when Cameron remembered we're engaged. As my fiancé, he was supposed to protect me. But even now, he wouldn't let go of Sara. If it weren't for that incident, we wouldn't even be engaged. My mom wouldn't have gone after her parents. "Cecilia, Sara's already in such a miserable state. Can't you show a little understanding?" In our past life, we studied together at the National Defense University. Every time I had a dispute with Sara, Cameron always used those same words to make me back down. He knew very well how much that topic hurt me, yet he still brought it up again and again. To protect Sara, he never hesitated to stab me in the heart over and over as if it didn't hurt me at all. And now he's doing the exact same thing again. But I won't back down anymore. With a stern expression, I slowly pulled my hand away from Cameron's grip. He feared that if I got angry, Sara would suffer the consequences, so he quietly pleaded with me to forgive her. "Cecilia, she really didn't mean to hit you. She was just too upset." I took a deep breath and interrupted him. "What if I call the police right now?" Cameron knew that if I did, Sara would lose any chance of attending the interview. After a brief hesitation, he stepped aside. I slapped Sara across the face. At the last second, Cameron couldn't bear to watch her take the blow. He pushed Sara behind him and offered his own face instead. I slapped him with all my strength, leaving a red handprint across his cheek. "Cameron, why did you do that? Why did you let her hit you?" "I'll get revenge for you," Sara cried out, but Cameron held her back with reddened eyes and looked at me. "Is that enough?" Their expressions of anger and injustice made it seem like I was the one in the wrong. "Forget it. There are only 12 days left. I'll endure it. Cameron was fully focused on Sara, worried that her performance in the interview would be affected by her parents losing their jobs. It hadn't even occurred to him that we weren't taking the same exam. During the aptitude test, Cameron finally realized something was wrong and asked if I had changed my preferences. I didn't want to talk to him, so I just nodded lazily. He looked displeased. Why? I answered indifferently. I suddenly felt I couldn't handle a militarized program, so I decided not to go. Cameron asked me what school I had put as my first choice. If I told him, maybe they'd be a bit more at ease and stop giving me so much trouble. The People's Public Security University. Cameron muttered unconsciously. That far? Only by going far away could I stop interfering with their love. I said nothing and walked past Cameron. As I was heading down the stairs, a hand reached out from behind and pushed me. Although I managed to grab the railing, I still twisted my ankle. It wasn't serious, but it would definitely affect my performance in the physical test. Sara laughed coldly. You almost ruined my interview. I'll make sure you fail your physical exam. I glanced at the surveillance camera above and said nothing. The exam was about to begin, and I had no time to waste arguing with her. When the examiner learned about my injury, he moved my name to the end of the list and even found someone to give me a massage. The first test was a 50-meter sprint. I clocked 15 seconds. Failed. There were 4 total tests, and I had to pass at least 3 to qualify for the priority round. Otherwise, I'd be pushed into the regular pool. The examiner looked at me with visible concern. In the long jump, I only cleared 1.04 meters on the first attempt and barely passed on the third try. I successfully passed the 800-meter run and sit-up test. As soon as I left the exam room, I called the police. Sara was arrested. Chapter 05. Cameron was extremely worried. After getting nowhere with the police, he came to me for help. Cecilia, can you forgive Sara? She didn't do it on purpose. I asked Cameron if he had even watched the security footage. If he had, he couldn't possibly say something like that. Deep down, Cameron knew Sara did it intentionally. But still, he defended her. She has some misunderstandings about you. I'll talk to her and help her see things clearly. I promise she'll never hurt you again. Sara always believed that what happened at the bar was something I staged to drive her away from Cameron. It's a wound I can't speak of, yet they keep bringing it up in front of me. Now, Cameron is doing it again. I refused firmly. Your promise means nothing. You can't restrain her, and you don't have the heart to punish her. Cameron looked deeply troubled by Sara, by her ignorance, and by my unwillingness to compromise. But still, he couldn't let her go. You really can't, I cut him off. If she did something wrong, she should be punished. That's what she deserves. I won't forgive her. In my past life, I was too weak. I could never be firm, and that gave Sara the chance to step all over me again and again. This time, I will make sure she learns her lesson. I turned to return to my room, but Cameron grabbed my arm and pleaded softly. If I ask you one favor based on the kindness I've shown you over the past 10 years, would you consider it? Over the past 10 years, Cameron had truly been good to me. He protected me like a big brother, gave way to me, took the blame for me, fought for me, even cursed others on my behalf. Especially after my mother died. If it weren't for him, I probably would have developed a mental illness. There was no way I could have made it into the People's Public Security University. It was precisely because he had been so kind to me in my past life that I could never let go. I kept hoping he would come back. I had no parents to lean on, no siblings by my side. He was all I had. But I didn't realize then that once a man falls in love, his childhood ties no longer matter. In this life, I won't have any more ties to him. And this feeling, I'll return it to him as well. All right. Just remember what you said. From now on, you and I owe each other nothing. Seeing how firm I was, Cameron looked a little shaken. He wanted to say something more, but I immediately rejected him and shut the door. Unable to get in, Cameron sent me a message. Cecilia, I'm sorry. I've hurt you again. See? He knows everything. And yet he still chooses to protect Sara so blindly. I replied, apologies are meaningless. You're just following your heart. Either way, I don't love you anymore. Even if it hurts, there are only 6 days left. Just hold on, and it'll be over. After being released, Sara didn't restrain herself instead. She escalated her provocations and insults. You're just a parasite living under someone else's roof. Who do you think you are? Some majestic wolf with a big tail. Gonna call the police? What's the use? Don't you know Cameron's father is a military officer with powerful connections? Can't you stop harassing Cameron? Even if you cling to him like a leech, how long can you hold on? Once we enter the National Defense University, we won't be back for a year. Can you even see him again? Even if Madame Lou protects you, she can't take Cameron out of school with her. Cameron doesn't love you. He never did. Do you really think he's going to get engaged to you out of guilt? Marriage? Forget it. I was busy choosing the dress I'd wear for my coming-of-age ceremony and didn't want to waste time on her, but I couldn't stand her arrogant stupidity anymore. I decided to be kind and give her a little warning. Has Cameron never told you? My father is also a lieutenant colonel, the same rank as Mr.
Lou.
One of my uncles is a school principal and the other is a government minister. If I really wanted to make trouble for you, not even Cameron could protect you. Do you really think he used his connections to get you out of trouble? It was him who begged me to forgive you. He swore there wouldn't be a next time, so I let it go. If I don't nod this time, you won't be able to enter any school that requires a political background check, let alone the National Defense University.
Got it.
Sara didn't believe I had any real backing. Keep bragging. Who's ever seen your dad in the last 3 years? Has the school director ever opened a door for you? You call that a powerful family? You're just a pitiful homeless girl, eating and drinking off the Lou family's charity. Those 4 words, homeless girl, stabbed me. Even though my family is wealthy and I have people I can rely on, I don't have a home. My father is a workaholic who barely comes home. The last time I saw him was at my mother's funeral over 3 years ago. My uncles are busy with work and their own families. No one truly cares about me. Ever since my mom passed away in the accident, I've been living with the Lous. For 3 years, Madame Lou treated me like her own daughter. And I came to see her as my own mother until I was reborn. I remembered how, after an argument with Cameron, she scolded me harshly and treated me coldly. I could no longer get close to her like before. Every day living in the Lou household felt like torment. 3 days left. Chapter 06. The day before my birthday, my aunt called and said, "There's something I've thought about a lot, and I think it's time you knew. There's been a new development about the harassment incident. In my past life, I avoided that topic as much as possible. Just hearing the word harassment made me furious. I never let my aunt continue. But now I wanted to know what had been weighing on her heart for so long. Tell me. It's very likely that those 2 men who assaulted you were manipulated by Autumn Lou. They were already drunk at the time, and someone guided them to target you. Based on the descriptions they gave and the bar staff's testimony, that person was most likely Autumn Lou. None of the nearby security cameras capture her face, so there's no solid proof that she was at the bar. And there's no evidence that she instigated the assault. That's why I never told you back then. You know this yourself, so don't say it aloud." After hanging up, I sat frozen for a long time. So the real culprits who ruined my life were those 2 perverts, and it was Madame Lou, the woman who treated me like her own daughter, who masterminded it. She hated Sara and saw my broken family situation as the perfect opportunity to trap Cameron into an engagement with me. I was just a pawn in her scheme to split Cameron and Sara apart. A stepping stone to clear the way for Cameron's bright future. No wonder she always encouraged me to compete for Cameron's affection. And after I lost again and again to Sara, she scorned me for being useless. When I couldn't hold on to Cameron's heart, she stopped caring. She let me struggle alone, raising 2 children without help. And when I tried to fight for Cameron again, she stabbed me in the back. She never truly loved me. From beginning to end, it was all cold calculation and exploitation. Madame Lou entered the room with a big box, smiling. "Cecilia, I prepared a surprise for you. Open it and take a look." I accepted the box and pretended to be surprised as I opened it. Wow, what a beautiful skirt. "Thank you, Madame Lou." She held it up and placed it against me, her expression growing more satisfied by the second. "Would you wear this skirt for your engagement?" "Yes, I'll wear it when I get engaged to Cameron. I'm going to gift this skirt to Sara. If she ends up becoming your daughter-in-law, it'll be such poetic justice. You ruined my Lefesso. I'll make sure yours is filled with unrest. I took Madame Lu's arm and smiled sweetly. Madame Lu, I have a surprise for you two tomorrow. My coming-of-age ceremony was held at the most luxurious hotel in the city. The guest list was short, only close friends and family of my parents, along with Madame Lu and Cameron. Madame Lu was chatting and laughing with my relatives. Cameron awkwardly greeted my uncles. A waiter came in and asked, Miss Lu, there's a girl outside named Sara. She says you invited her. Should I let her in? At the mention of Sara's name, Cameron stiffened and glared at me with a hint of anger in his eyes. Madame Lu smiled in satisfaction, giving me an approving look. My aunt scoffed and cast a mocking glance at Cameron. Is that the girl who pushed you and almost caused you to fail the physical test? Sara? I smiled and nodded, then asked the waiter to let Sara in. Cameron tried to stop him, but the waiter ignored him. Sara entered wearing the same white skirt she had on when she danced with Cameron. She had her makeup done and her hair braided beautifully. She looked stunning and confident. She stood proudly at the entrance, but the moment she saw me surrounded by people, the light in her eyes dimmed. Like Cinderella walking into the prince's ball, surprise was quickly replaced by uncertainty. Cameron rushed over to her, using his body to shield her from everyone's curious stares. He was truly thoughtful. He used to be like that with me too. Why did you come here? Cameron's eyes were filled with worry. It was Cecilia who invited me, Sara replied. She said you were going to propose today. Cameron, could you not marry her? I really like you. I know I can't compare to Cecilia, but I truly like you a lot. Her voice grew smaller and smaller. She had just turned 18. Seeing my birthday celebration, she must have realized the gap between us. If she were Cameron, she would have chosen me too and abandoned herself. She clutched Cameron's hand tightly, like a drowning person grabbing the only piece of driftwood. Madame Lu, clearly annoyed, frowned and asked, Cecilia, why did you invite her? As if having a revelation, I motioned for the waiter to retrieve a large box from upstairs. I handed it to Sara. This is the engagement dress Madame Lu gave to her future daughter-in-law. Why don't you try it on and see if it fits? Sara held the box in both hands, looking at Madame Lu in disbelief. Ma'am, you want Cameron to get engaged to me? You even sent me a dress. Cameron looked at me in panic. It had taken him so much to convince himself to give up Sara and get engaged to me. He had been suffering for so long. He didn't expect that I would suddenly back out and force him into this absurd situation, publicly offering Sara the role of daughter-in-law. Finally, he understood what I meant. The confusion in his eyes grew deeper. Before he could speak, I asked, Do you like this surprise? I've been planning it for half a month. Cameron, this time you don't have to say sorry or thank you because I didn't do it with good intentions. Chapter 07. Madame Lu panicked and snatched the dress away from Sara. What a joke. You really think you deserve this? I gave this to Cecilia. Madame Lu, didn't you say yesterday that this dress was for Cecilia? For her to wear at her engagement. How could you misunderstand what she meant? The misunderstanding was hers. I simply accepted the dress. I never said I would wear it. She gave me a surprise, so naturally, I returned the favor. I took the dress back from Madame Lu and handed it to Sara. Cameron loves Sara. She's the one who should be engaged to him. Madame Lu, you shouldn't separate people who are truly in love. Love can overcome any obstacle. You should believe that they'll support each other and become better people together. I also gave Sara the 4-leaf clover necklace Cameron had gifted me for my birthday. Cameron bought this bracelet. Try it on and see if it fits. Cameron and Madame Lu were both completely stunned. Cecilia, Cameron reached out to grab me, but I slipped away swiftly. I gave a gentle nudge to the dazed Sara. Go try on the dress. If it doesn't fit, you can ask Madame Lu to alter it for you. Sara thanked me excitedly and walked off with the dress and the waiter. Madame Lu tried to stop her. Wait. That's not yours. You can't touch it. My aunt pulled Madame Lu aside to calm her down. You can't force love. This girl seems kind. I'm sure she'll succeed in life. Madame Lu snapped. She? The daughter of a security guard? What right does she have to be with my son? If you like her so much, why don't you let her be your daughter-in-law? My aunt shrugged. My son doesn't even like her. Besides, he already has a girlfriend, an inspector, probably busy today. Madame Lu was even more furious. She yanked Cameron and pushed him toward me. Cameron, you need to make things clear to Cecilia. Tell her she's the one you love, not Sara. Say it now. How could Cameron tell Sara that he loved me when it was such a blatant lie? He didn't want to hurt Sara not one bit. At the same time, he knew exactly how much he had hurt me to protect her. He had sacrificed even our friendship. What right did he have to say he loved me now? Even if he did, I wouldn't believe it. Cameron looked at me with a conflicted expression filled with regret and pain. Just as he was about to speak, Sara ran over to him. Cameron, the skirt fits me perfectly. Do I look good in it? Cameron nodded, but his eyes were still on me. Sara was unhappy with Cameron's cold response and lightly tapped his chest. You're not even looking at me. Don't you want to get engaged to me? Cameron said nothing. His gaze remained fixed on me. He hadn't looked at me like this in such a long time. Whenever Sara was around, his eyes would always drift toward her, whether he meant to or not. Now that I'm leaving, he suddenly seems unwilling to let me go. The moment the word engagement came up, Madame Lu lost her mind again. If it weren't for my aunt, she probably would have torn Sara apart. In front of everyone, Madame Lu brought up the incident where I was harassed. It was all Cameron's fault for taking you to that bar and failing to protect you. You were scared. Are you okay now? Everyone knew that was my deepest wound. For 3 days after happened, I was like someone possessed, refusing to eat, refusing to sleep, screaming day and night. My uncles, my aunts, no one could comfort me. Only Cameron could help me fall asleep peacefully. When Madame Lu proposed that Cameron get engaged to me, no one objected. And now that I've finally pulled myself out of that trauma and decided not to go through with the engagement, no one's objecting to that either. But what Madame Lu said could still break me all over again. My aunt and uncle gave her sharp warning glances. Cameron kept signaling Madame Lu to stop talking. But Madame Lu continued to poke at my wounds, blind to everything around her. From now on, don't ever go to places like bars. There are all kinds of people there. Girls are too vulnerable in such places. My uncle was furious and wanted to stand up, but my aunt held him back. Lu, you were at that bar too, weren't you? Why were you wearing a mask in the middle of summer? Are you sick, or was there something you were trying to hide? And if you were already there, why didn't you just call Cecilia to go home? Madame Lu realized her cover had been blown and didn't dare say another word. Trying to change the subject, my aunt asked about my school admissions. Cecilia, did you still apply to the National Defense University? Has the list come out? I already packed everything for your suitcase, your laptop. I put down my chopsticks.
No.
I applied to the People's Public Security University. The list came out already. I didn't disappoint anyone I got in. Friends and relatives showered me with praise and blessings. But then Sara interrupted at the worst moment. You think you can be a police officer? With that spoiled princess attitude, how are you going to handle the hardships? Can a cop's salary even buy you a skirt? Cameron tried to cover Sara's mouth, but she gave him a playful kiss on the palm instead. Gestures like that might seem cute in private, but in public, they looked crude and embarrassing. Cameron blushed and didn't dare raise his head. I responded firmly, people like me are exactly the kind who should study policing. I can learn to be strong without becoming cold, and rich without becoming greedy. I will serve the people with all my heart. But someone like you, if you ever joined the police, it would only bring harm to yourself and to others. You'd sell out for a tiny gain, be bribed easily, crumble under pressure, and give up. My uncle clapped loudly. Well said. Our public security system needs talents like you. On behalf of the Provincial Public Security Bureau, I welcome you to join us. My aunt joined in with a chuckle. Then I'll reluctantly represent the prosecutor's office and welcome you too. Sara, completely clueless, questioned why my aunt and uncle were representing public institutions like it was their own house. Cameron no longer wanted to deal with her. The mocking looks from the crowd made him wish he could disappear into the floor. Chapter 08. Dinner wasn't even over yet, but Cameron took Sara and left. Her foolishness only showed when she was with him. That's what you call innocence. But in front of others, it was just plain embarrassing. Madame Lu also stormed off midway through the meal. After dinner, I didn't return to the Lu home. I stayed at the hotel. My aunt sent a hotel staff member to collect my things from their house. After spending 2 days at the hotel, I went back to my own home. No one had lived there for 3 years. Aside from the withered flowers on the balcony, everything was just as it had been when Mom was still here. After tidying up a bit, I put on the clothes my mom used to wear and lay in her favorite rocking chair, dreaming about what it feels like to be loved. My mother was a beautiful and graceful woman. She loved to dress up and have fun. She spoiled me, gave me everything I ever wanted. She said that since I didn't have a father growing up and was a sensitive girl, she had to give me extra love so I could grow up healthy. But I never got the chance to grow up. She was gone too soon. After receiving my admission letter, I took a photo and sent it to Dad. I wanted to go see him. I didn't know if it would be convenient for him right now. I didn't hear back from Dad, but I did receive another apology from Cameron. Cecilia, I'm sorry. Every time you and Sara argued, I always defended her and ignored you. I don't even like her. I never planned to get engaged to her. I just felt sorry for her and wanted to help. I believe him. He does like Sara, but not enough to marry her. One of the reasons he kept thinking about her in our past life was because he was obsessed with what he couldn't have. The more unreachable something is, the more he wanted it. But once he got it, it no longer seemed worth it. After thinking it over, I replied with one line. In the end, I'll find someone who will always stand by me. Whether it's friendship or love, I just want someone who never leaves my side. On the day I left for school, Cameron wanted to drive me to the train station. I declined. It wouldn't be good if your girlfriend got the wrong idea. Cameron frowned. She's not my girlfriend. I already told her that. I smiled faintly. She doesn't think so. After receiving the engagement dress from Madame Liu, Sara started calling herself Cameron's fiancée. She even sent me a message warning me to stay away from her man. When I blocked her, she used a different phone to message me again. She's driving me insane. I want to change my number. Cameron didn't say a word, just took the Liu I was holding and walked away. I deliberately walked slowly behind him, widening the distance between us. I didn't look at him or speak. I ignored him just like he had ignored me in our past life. Cameron seemed to notice the emotional distance, turning his head several times as if he wanted to say something. In the end, he said nothing. He knows some things can never be taken back. Maybe it was to make up for something, or maybe just politeness, but Cameron bought me a big bag of food at the train station supermarket. I picked out a pack of plain sunflower seeds from the bag. Cameron was surprised. You don't like the others? Don't girls usually eat stuff like this? Sara. He kept mentioning Sara, while claiming not to like her. Is he trying to fool me or fool himself? Not all girls like those snacks. Sara does. You remember all of her preferences, but forgot that I like plain sunflower seeds. Cameron suddenly covered his face, lowered his head, and sobbed as he apologized. I'm sorry. I smiled faintly, took the Liu, and headed toward the ticket gate without saying goodbye. I didn't want to see him ever again. Chapter 09. I took a slow sleeper train, which gave me time to enjoy the scenery along the way. The girl sitting across from me noticed I had a civil code book in my hand and asked if I was a freshman. I learned her name was Selena and she was also admitted to the People's Public Security University. It was quite the coincidence. Only 2 girls from our province got in this year, and I met one of them as soon as I got on the train. She had an outgoing personality. After just 3 minutes of chatting, she was already calling me sis and had added me on WeChat. We studied the civil code together, talked about our dreams and our futures, and shared snacks. The more we talked, the more we clicked. It felt like we had known each other forever. I didn't check my phone until I got off the train. Cameron had sent me a message. I'm sorry. I ignored you for the past 2 years. How can I make it up to you? It wasn't 2 years. It was 30. And I didn't need compensation. I deleted all of Cameron's contacts. I also changed my phone number. During winter break, I went home and visited my homeroom teacher. I happened to overhear someone mention that Sara had been expelled and was repeating the year. How could she be expelled? The teacher looked a little uncomfortable. I heard she stole from her roommate. I wasn't wrong, she couldn't resist temptation. I'm guessing she was expelled for the same reason in our past life too, right? Why did Cameron blame me back then? Did he have a habit of accusing me for every bad thing that happened to Sara? In this life, I never attended the National Defense University and cut ties with him early. So he didn't suspect me this time. A year later, I joined a mission with my classmates and saw Sara at a nightclub. She was clinging affectionately to a suspicious-looking rich young man. Suddenly, it all made sense. Maybe she didn't marry that idle rich boy in her past life to help Cameron move on. She just liked his money and married quickly. She clearly chased wealth, but still wanted to leave Cameron with a romantic illusion that she sacrificed herself for love. She wanted Cameron to live with guilt forever. Later, she left the rich boy not necessarily because of domestic violence. At the time, his family had already gone bankrupt, and Cameron was no longer controlled by his parents. He had money, power, and connections, and our relationship had already soured. She saw an opportunity to rekindle their past and used the excuse of domestic abuse to seek Cameron's protection. Cameron still had feelings for her and guilt, so the two reconnected quickly. Cameron, bound by the lines of marriage, never had a real affair with Sara. But she couldn't sit still. She started sending me suggestive photos and videos provoking me on purpose, so I'd lash out at Cameron and attack her. The more I lost control, the more Cameron felt guilty, and the more he defended her. With these low-level tricks, she finally managed to drive a wedge between us and climbed her way up. In my past life, both Cameron and I were her pawns. I never imagined I'd lose to such a shameless person in such a humiliating way. I won't let that revenge go. That rich heir is also on our arrest list if Sara's urine test comes back positive. She's finished. Just from her seductive look, it's clear she's not clean. Fueled by my anger, Sara was charged with 3 crimes: provocation, resisting arrest, and assaulting an officer. In the end, she was sentenced to 4 years. During her detention, Sara repeatedly begged Cameron for help. But Cameron couldn't even leave his campus. How could he possibly come north to save her? On Chinese New Year of my 3rd year in college, I ran into Cameron at a class reunion. He was wearing a military uniform, tall and dignified, with a commanding presence. He stood out among all the well-dressed men around him. The women's gazes mostly landed on him. When they saw me, everyone was warm and welcoming, not just because we hadn't seen each other in years, but because we all had matured. We now understood the value of interpersonal connections. I felt the same. Solving cases also requires a strong social network. Everyone present had the potential to become future industry leaders or business tycoons. I feared no one but didn't offend anyone either. I was already prepared for Cameron and for Sara, who might question me. But instead, the first thing he said when he opened his mouth was, "That skirt is really beautiful. It suits you well." I replied softly, "Thank you." His compliments, just like his criticisms, no longer touched my heart. A classmate brought up Sara and her conviction. "Cameron, didn't you both attend the National Defense University? Why did she drop out? What happened up north that landed her in jail?" Cameron took a sip of his drink and replied indifferently, "I didn't know her well. I'm not aware of her situation." With a simple "I didn't know her well and I'm not aware," he completely erased the woman who once made his heart race. So, even he could treat Sara with such coldness. It was almost laughable. In my past life, I spent 30 years trying and failing to make Cameron forget Sara. In this life, I did nothing, and they parted early. Is this fate, or simply the result of choices? Chapter 10. Cameron invited me to stay at his place for a few days. I declined. My schedule is full. I really don't have time. Cameron lowered his gaze. Is there really no chance for us? I reminded him. Right now, we're nothing more than strangers. After all, you once used our old friendship to plead for Sara. I told you we no longer owe each other anything. Since then, Cameron hasn't spoken to me. He just kept drinking, glass after glass. He had an impressive tolerance none of the other guys could keep up. As the night went on, the girls left one by one. I was getting ready to leave too when Cameron, in the middle of a drinking contest, stood up. "I'll walk you out." Refusing wouldn't help, so I stayed silent. Cameron walked me to the hotel entrance. That's when he finally asked the question that had been tormenting him. "Why don't you talk to my mother anymore?" I didn't want to answer, but he pressed for an explanation. "She never did anything wrong to you, right? Why did you even delete her on WeChat?" Since he insisted, I decided not to hide it. He needed to know the truth about Madame Liu, so he wouldn't keep seeing me as heartless. Better he become disillusioned now. Because those two men who assaulted me were instigated by her. She was at the bar that night too. Cameron stepped back in shock, nearly losing his balance. That can't be. She would never do that to you. I gave a sarcastic smile. Then why don't you ask her yourself? Cameron couldn't believe it.
No.
She wouldn't treat you like that. She's always said you were like a daughter to her. I answered calmly. Then why hasn't she contacted me in 3 years? And tell me when Sara kept saying I staged it, didn't you believe her? So now why is it so hard to believe that your mother did? Cameron didn't dare meet my eyes. He was guilty because deep down he had doubted me. He'd rather believe Sara's slander than trust my character. I had no feelings left for him.
Leave.
I don't want to see you again. After Cameron left, I met up with Selena for an overnight trip. Cameron changed his number 3 times trying to call me. I blocked each one. After graduation, Selena and I started working at the provincial office. On our first day, we received a mountain of dating profiles practically identical. When I went to dinner at my uncle's house, I received another stack of dating folders handpicked by my aunt. These are all carefully selected based on your preferences. Each guy comes from a good family and has a clean record. You could pick any of them with your eyes closed. I didn't want to pick any. I gave the whole stack to Selena. 3 months later, she suddenly got married. She'd fallen for my aunt's nephew. He became my relative. 3 years later, Cameron showed up at my office. I heard you're still single. Would you consider someone like me? I raised an eyebrow slightly and replied indifferently. Do you think that's even possible? Cameron gave a bitter smile. I knew you'd say that. It's fine. I'll wait until your anger fades. I've already requested a transfer. I'll be relocated here in 3 months. I want to buy an apartmento. You have any building recommendations?
No.
I'm busy with work. Take care. After Cameron left, I submitted a transfer request. By the time he came looking for me again, apartment bought, I would already be gone. At 30, Cameron tried again. Cecilia, I know you're still not married. Couldn't you at least consider someone like me? I haven't had any female friends these past years. I've been waiting for you. I knew. Every time I met old classmates, they mentioned Cameron. Said he was brilliant, praised his talents, and pitted that he hadn't found the right person. But I was never waiting for Cameron. I'm not unmarried because I can't find anyone. I just don't want marriage or children. I have a boyfriend. Cameron was stunned, then forced a smile. Cecilia, don't joke like that. I know you're a traditional woman. If you really had someone you liked, how could you possibly still? A tall, muscular man walked out of the bedroom in a bathrobe. Babe, who's that? A coworker? A new neighbor? Cameron's eyes locked onto the ambiguous red marks on the man's chest. He looked at me, completely dumbfounded. I shrugged. Want to come in for a cup of tea? Cameron ran. Chapter 11. I closed the door and got ready to go back to sleep. The man pressed me against the door. Was that your ex? Did he come to win you back? I gave Pablo a firm smack on the forehead. You better behave. If not, then don't blame me for showing no respect to your sister and throwing you out. Put nicely, you're my boyfriend. Put less nicely, you're just a friend with benefits. Don't meddle in my business, any of it. Pablo dropped his bossy act and started circling me like a little puppy. I know I messed up, sis. I'll be a good boyfriend and do what I'm supposed to. Next time someone comes over, I'll show them how great our home is. I'll never embarrass you again. After sending Pablo away, I immediately called Selena and shouted, Did you give Cameron my address? What were you trying to do? Get him to fight your brother? If you wanted your brother to challenge me, just say it. Don't drag strangers into this. The sound of Selena sipping coffee was annoyingly loud, like a starving pig fighting for food. I just felt bad seeing him search everywhere for you with no luck. What's the problem? Did he show up at the wrong time and catch you in bed? I scoffed. Feeling sorry for a man will bring you a lifetime of misery. Selena sighed dramatically. Poor my brother. If I'd known your heart was made of stone, I wouldn't have introduced you. As if I cared. Then go find him a goddess with a soft heart. Too late, she muttered. He just called me, asking how to defeat his rival when he doesn't even have official status. Trying to propose again, is he? As long as I don't accept, no one can force me to marry. Does it even matter if I get married or not? If someone truly stays by your side for life, does that little book make any difference? If feelings change, a marriage certificate won't save anything. Isn't it better to be free and follow your heart? Cameron thought he had time to win Cecilia back. He thought all he needed was time for her to forgive him. He waited patiently, thinking she'd eventually forget the past. Until he saw that man in a bathrobe in her home. He realized she had already fallen in love with someone else. How could the girl he had protected for 18 years be taken by another man? In that moment, he had only one thought: to kill him. But he didn't dare. He had already upset Cecilia enough. Acting out again would only push her farther away. He looked for Mr.
Lou.
Mr. Lou had always taken an interest in him. There was still a small chance if he stepped in. But even Mr. Lou hadn't been able to contact Cecilia in over a year.
How could that be?
He was her father. Then Cameron remembered Mr. Lou had barely been home. His relationship with Cecilia was distant. Her aunt had passed away, and he only returned a week before leaving again. He hadn't been back since. He didn't even celebrate Cecilia's 18th birthday with her. This father had never fulfilled his role. During her 3 hardest years, only his mother and he had been by her side, and they both betrayed her. It turns out, the most unfortunate one was never the pitiful Sara but Cecilia, the one who seemed privileged but was truly alone. She had many people around her, but no one she could depend on. The affection Madame Lou gave her was full of manipulation. His protection? He had given it to someone else long ago. Cecilia lived in this world without anyone who truly loved or accompanied her. That's why now she doesn't love either of them. She doesn't love him, nor does she care for Mr.
Lou.
This is the karma they deserved. Chapter 12. Sara came looking for him, hoping to reconcile again. What kind of woman who's been with several men and has a criminal record deserves a second glance from him? If she hadn't kept acting like a victim, begging for pity, Cecilia wouldn't have left him. He hated her. He wanted to see her back behind bars. Thinking of his mother, he accepted. He brought Sara to his hometown to see his mother. If you can get her to accept you as a daughter-in-law, I'll marry you. As expected, his mother and Sara tortured each other for half a year. The more they got to know each other, the more they wished the other would die. Eventually, they had a huge fight. Both ended up in the hospital. His mother threatened that if he married Sara, she'd jump off a building. In the end, he didn't marry Sara. Not because he feared his mother would take her life, but because Commander Yao's daughter, Qianling, had taken a liking to him. She was determined to marry no one but him. Cornered by his beloved daughter, the commander personally came to ask for his thoughts. What could he say? A woman that headstrong and entitled had to be brought home to deal with his mother. On the wedding day, his mother acted like a strict mother-in-law and made Qianling kneel to serve her tea. Qianling, spoiled and pampered all her life, had never kneeled before anyone. She threw the tea in Madame Lu's face. Madame Lu raised her hand to slap her, but Qianling caught her wrist. They ended up in a tug-of-war right in front of the guests. Laughter broke out across the room. The commander and his father turned red, unsure what to do. Everyone looked at him. But he didn't help either of them. This daughter-in-law was exactly the type his mother wanted, a girl from a good family who could help his future. Why couldn't she be tolerant? This was the house where Qianling had cried and screamed, threatening the commander endlessly just to get married. Why couldn't she accept his mother as her in-law? He poured himself into work and didn't care how his wife and mother fought at home. When he was in a good mood, he'd go home to see the kids. When in a bad mood, he stayed at the office. His wife praised him for not being like other men who always sided with their mothers to bully their wives. She said he was an exceptional man, ambitious, loyal, and focused. Marrying him, she said, was the best decision of her life. Are women really that easy to please? Was Cecilia like that too? His mother screamed at him for being ungrateful, letting his wife mistreat her. He asked her, "Do you really want Sara as your daughter-in-law? Or do you prefer someone like Qianling?" His mother suddenly blurted out, "I want Cecilia." That was the last straw. He ran out into the rain, crying silently. He wanted to marry Cecilia too, but it was far too late. The girl who once said she'd never marry or have children was now Marietta, the man who had worn a bathrobe in her home. She was no longer the little plum that clung to him. She no longer called his mother Madame Lou. Their fate had ended the moment he developed feelings for Sara. Life was long, but he could no longer softly call out Cecilia. If only his mother hadn't sent someone to harass her, maybe they could have become a happy family. It was all his fault. Why did he treat Sara so kindly? Why make everyone believe he loved her? If only he had understood himself and Cecilia sooner, maybe their children would already be as tall as him. If time could go back, he would give everything to do it all differently.